In today's video, I am going to talk to you about why you should not be investing in Rogers, Telus, Bell, or really any other telecommunications business right now. There's a big swing that is currently happening when it comes to that current market that is actually, in my mind, mind-blowing. And I think there's a lot of people who are ignorant to the fact of what's coming into the future, especially these companies that are currently selling internet to people. I used to work in the tech field. I used to be somebody who worked for a tech company that would sell technology stuff like phones, computers, things like that. And I would talk to some of even the highest up people when it came to Rogers, Telus, and Bell. And I no longer work in that field or those companies. I run my own business, so I guess I could kind of break the silence on how dumb they really are. And when it comes down to it, we are looking at a company like SpaceX who is launching internet satellites into the sky, into space, and there's going to be other companies that are following. I know there's Boeing, as well as I think Apple might be teaming up with them, looking to basically do the same thing as SpaceX, and then there's also Amazon looking to do the exact same thing. And we're going to be having at least 2, maybe 3 companies at first doing this and selling internet essentially worldwide. Now, you may be saying, well, that's years away, don't worry. They can't get cell phones, they can't sell internet satellite to cell phones. Well, I'm going to explain to you today how I think it's going to happen in the future and why these companies are essentially screwed and why I would never invest in them right now. Okay, so here's the Earth. I'll put it in blue because, of course, the Earth is mostly water. And from there, what do we really see? Well, right now, SpaceX is launching satellites into space so that they can get internet essentially worldwide. Now, you may be saying, well, those just go to, that internet just goes to home. You don't really have to worry about it. Basically, it gets sent down to your house, and that's about it. And you are just getting internet at your house. Well, what happens if, for example, and this is just a very brief example of, well, there's a company called Tesla, and Tesla is actually quite an important company to SpaceX. And let me explain why. Well, Tesla has solar panels. They sell solar panels so that the sun is able to basically beat down on Earth and give essentially free electricity to whoever has solar panels. Well, those solar panels can then connect to a tower, as an example, and that tower is now powered solely by those solar panels. Well, that tower can have a dish on top that then collects internet from these satellites. And then you can have other dishes on that tower to send out internet to cell phones. And all of these telecommunications companies, they're really focusing on the cell phone. You can probably see that there is not really all that much advertising, at least in my area anymore, when it comes to home internet, because Bell's got their areas, Rogers has their areas, and then Cogeco has theirs, and sometimes you'll have an overlap, like in my area, I can get Cogeco or Bell, but there really isn't much competition. I'm not too sure how it is in the States, but at least up here in Canada, that's how it is. But when it comes to the cell phones, there's quite a bit of competition. Now, there's a whole bunch of small little providers that are around, but the main ones are essentially Rogers, Bell, Telus, Fido, in some circumstances, depending on where you are in Canada, and Virgin. And around here, the more popular ones are Rogers, Bell, and Virgin. And let's be honest, when we start looking at phones, when we start looking at some of these other providers, like Virgin is basically Bell. Bell owns Virgin. Kudo, I think, is owned, if I'm not mistaken, by Rogers. I'm probably wrong. I can't remember how it goes anymore. But either way, there's really only 3 actual providers. There's Rogers, Telus, Bell, and they all share the towers because they were forced to. But there really isn't competition, even though there's other companies, because they all run off of the same 3 main companies. And those 3 main companies share their towers. Well, guess what? Those companies are now investing heavily into 5G. And 5G is a much faster internet, but you need to have more towers because the distance doesn't work all that well. So the thing when it comes to internet is there was 3G, and that was a very wide band. It was able to get to a lot of places. And then there was 4G, which they had to put more towers in because that was a wider outband, a faster band, but it was not able to get as far. And then there's 5G, which again, they need to put more towers in because it doesn't have the same distance as 4G, but it's a lot faster than 4G. So that's kind of the trade-offs. First off, most people will never need 5G unless you have a self-driving car that is using that network, but at the same time, there really isn't any that are around yet. 5G is essentially just a scam unless you're looking to transfer massive amounts of data, which most people don't with their phone. And when it comes down to it, they are investing heavily into this space of 5G, and there really is no necessary need for it yet. The government's giving them tons of money to do so. They're investing heavily into it as well. We're seeing this on their financial earnings every single quarter, that they're spending a ton of money just to increase the network. And when it comes down to it, there's a small little company called SpaceX who's going to be eating their lunch because they're going to be putting in towers, most likely, for cell phone networks. They're already selling to homes that are out in the country, and that's just going to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And from there, the more satellites they launch, the more of a load that they can handle as a company. And when we start looking at their ability to maybe start adding in towers, not even having to pay for electricity, not having to pay the traditional Rogers, Telus, Bell in the areas to use their lines, because they're grabbing internet from the satellites. They're using solar panels to be able to power their antennas. They are totally able to be self-sufficient. And this is a ridiculously amazing business model when it comes to SpaceX and when it comes to Starlink. But this is, in my opinion, the future, and why I would never, ever invest in a telecommunications company right now. They may be paying huge dividends in some cases, but if you look at their stock charts, they tend to trade just slightly over average or slightly over positive or negative. They're usually trading sideways, in my opinion. And when it comes down to it, sure, the dividend's nice. They're not a growth company, and they are probably going to be dead in 15 years. So when it comes down to it, I would personally never invest in telecommunications companies at this point in time, unless it was Starlink. Whenever Starlink gets on the stock market, that's the one company I will be investing in heavily when it goes into the stock market. Anyways, these are my thoughts. Obviously, my thoughts may be controversial, and that's fine. I just wanted to share this with you, and of course, leave your comment down below what your thoughts are. I'll see you guys in my next video.